Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking into a spiritual movement that claims a following in the hundreds of millions. I mean, how does something like that even happen? Let's get into it.
It really all starts with a number that is, well, it's pretty hard to wrap your head around. Get this, over 310 million. That's the reported number of followers for an organization called Bhagwan Sree Lakshmi Narayana Dham. We'll call it BSLND for short. It was all founded by Jagatguru Maha Bramhrishi Sree Kumar Swamiji. So the big question is, how did this one movement get so massive?
All right, so to really get a handle on this, we've got to start at the very beginning. Who is the person at the center of all this, and what's his organization really all about? So BSLND was founded back in 2002. Its whole philosophy is about blending ancient Vedic wisdom with a message of harmony between all faiths. And while its home base is in New Delhi, its footprint is truly global, with centers across the USA, Canada, and the UK. And for Swamiji himself, this whole journey started super early. We're talking age 12. He was apparently really influenced by some of the biggest spiritual thinkers of the 20th century. He then spent years in intense study and penance before creating BSLND to share what he learned.
Okay, so we know who's behind it, but what are they actually trying to do? What's the big mission here?
The mission is, well, it's huge. They're aiming to tackle suffering across the board, not just physical illness or mental stress, but also financial problems and social conflict. They approach this with what they call a mix of divine intervention and scientific spirituality, basically applying ancient wisdom to today's problems.
So, how do they do it? Well, one of the main tools is something called the Bij mantra, or seed mantra. Think of them as sacred chants, but what's really key here is that they're designed to be universal, pulling from a whole range of holy books to promote unity and personal growth.
Okay, so that's the what. But what about the how? How does all this spiritual work actually translate into action on the ground? Well, it turns out their work is built on three main pillars.
Pillar number one is all about health and healing, and this is a huge focus for the organization. They report some pretty incredible results, claiming to have helped millions of people recover from chronic diseases, some that many would consider incurable.
And the process for this healing, at least as they describe it, is actually pretty straightforward. A person attends a gathering, either in person or online, receives a specific mantra for their problem, and then recites it to harness cosmic energy for healing. And this applies to everything from cancer to depression.
And, this whole approach was really put to the test during the COVID-19 pandemic. BSLND says it supported over 50 million people by distributing mantras and holding these non-stop 24/7 global prayer chains. And that's all on top of their regular work, like running over 100 free medical camps in India every year.
All right, on to the second pillar, and this one tackles something I think pretty much everyone can relate to: financial hardship and the need for social support.
And wow, when you look at the programs here, they are incredibly diverse. I mean, you've got everything from spiritual practices like wealth mantras, aimed at helping with jobs and debt, to super tangible real-world aid like food banks in the US and Canada, and programs that empower women in India through education.
And that brings us to the third and final pillar, which kind of zooms out from the individual to look at the bigger picture, fostering peace and harmony and taking care of the planet. And this is a perfect example of their two-pronged approach. On one side, you have these huge world peace gatherings in places like New York and London, promoting dialogue between different faiths. And on the other, you've got this very practical environmental work, like the Kalpavriksha initiative, which has planted millions of trees across India. So when you're doing all of this work all over the world, it's really no surprise that Swamiji and BSLND have started to get some pretty major international recognition.
And you can really see that progression on this timeline. It starts with a huge spiritual honor in India, then it expands to civic recognition right in the United States, includes international peace awards, and then in 2022 it culminates with the title of Maha Bramhrishi, which is the highest honor you can get in the Vedic hierarchy.
That proclamation from New York is really interesting because it wasn't just some symbolic gesture. It specifically called out his actual on-the-ground humanitarian work and peace-building efforts, showing the tangible impact the organization was having abroad. All right, let's get to our final section, and this is a big question. How does all this ancient wisdom actually survive and thrive in our supermodern digital world? Well, to reach an audience that massive, BSLND has gone all in on digital media. And the result? Just look at that number.
over 1 billion views across their various platforms.
And this isn't just a website. We're talking about a whole digital ecosystem, free mobile apps, super active YouTube channels, and even global teleconferences for virtual healing sessions. They've basically made their teachings accessible to anyone, anywhere with an internet connection.
So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it's a massive gathering in India with 1 million people or just one person watching a YouTube video in Canada. The goal, they say, is always the same, to be that ray of hope that helps turn a life around.
Which kind of leaves us with this one big question to chew on. In an age of algorithms, AI, and constant connectivity, what is the role for ancient spiritual science when it comes to solving our very modern, very human problems?